Hi, welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue on our current path to more mystical texts. So today I'll take a look at the book The Rosicrucian Mysteries. The book is an introductory work that explains the heart of the Rosicrucian philosophy. It covers a range of topics within the Rosicrucian teachings, including cosmology, the constitution of human beings, spiritual development, and ethical living. Before we dive deeper into the content, I want to give you some context about the author and the inception of the Rosicrucian movement. Max Heindel was born in 1865. His real name was Carl Louis von Grashof. Heindel is an important figure in the esoteric tradition of the West. His journey is a story of personal transformation and spiritual evolution. He was born in Denmark and was trained an engineer, had an interest in Theosophy and spiritual matters from an early age. He immigrated to the United States in 1895 and settled in Los Angeles. And in 1903, he joined the Theosophical Society and became a vice president of the Los Angeles Lodge in 1904. His deep dive into Theosophy marked the beginning of his engagement with mysticism and the occult sciences. However, he eventually found himself diverging from some of the theosophical teachings. In 1907, during a period of ill health and deep personal seeking, Heindel claims to have been visited by a spiritual being who identified himself as an elder brother of the Rosicrucian order. This elder brother gave Heindel the Rosicrucian teachings. Over the course of his recuperation, Heindel studied these teachings extensively. The knowledge he gained during this period led him to embark on a lecture tour across the United States, sharing Rosicrucian wisdom and teachings. His lectures were well received and he developed a following of students. In 1909, Max Heindel established the Rosicrucian Fellowship in Mount Ecclesia, California, with the aim of disseminating the Rosicrucian teachings. At its heart, Rosicrucianism is a spiritual and cultural movement that traces its historical roots to early 17th century Europe. The mythological or symbolic origins of the Rosicrucian movement go back to the 13th century. A man called Christian Rosenkreuz is a mythical figure who is said to have founded Rosicrucianism. No verifiable account of Christian Rosenkreuz as a real person exists. Support for his real person is generally limited to myths and legends. Rosicrucian philosophy is a confluence of several traditions, including Hermeticism, Christian mysticism, and the Kabbalah. Heindel writes that the purpose of Rosicrucian philosophy is to teach individuals through harmonious development of mind and heart. It upholds a spirit of unselfish service to mankind and an all-embracing altruism. Their mission is to prepare the whole world for a new phase, which includes awareness of the inner worlds and the subtle bodies, and to provide safe guidance in the gradual awakening of humanity's latent spiritual faculties towards the coming age of Aquarius. In the eyes of the Rosicrucians, mysticism throughout history erupts to counterbalance materialistic epochs. Heindel's contribution was to articulate Rosicrucian teachings in a way that spoke to the modern world. The Rosicrucian philosophy posits that true knowledge, or gnosis, is not merely intellectual, but an amalgamation of science, art, and religion, leading to the evolution of the soul. Heindel was convinced that interestingly, according to astrologers, on January 20th of this year, 2024, planet Pluto moved from Capricorn into the sign of Aquarius and will firmly establish itself in the sign of Aquarius until 2043, which is said to activate a powerful, essential societal transformation. Along with this planetary transit, humanity is said to take a significant step into the age of Aquarius and begins to settle into it. In his book, The Rosicrucian Mysteries, Heindel introduces a cosmology that includes the visible and invisible worlds. The physical world is just the outer expression of deeper spiritual realities. Heindel presents the key elements of Rosicrucian cosmology and metaphysics to provide readers with a basic understanding of these invisible worlds and their significance in the spiritual evolution of mankind. He discusses the various planes of existence, including the physical, etheric, desire, mental, and spiritual worlds, and outlines how they interact with human consciousness. For those interested in a more in-depth study, Heindel's book, The Rosicrucian Cosmoconception, would be the recommended text, as it goes into greater detail on the structure of the universe and the laws governing the spiritual progression of human beings. I'm just going to show you one illustration from that book to clarify the relationship between invisible and visible worlds. As you can see in this illustration, there is a continuum between spirit and matter, going from the left to the right. They are using the metaphor of a slide projector here to illustrate how mentality translates into the physical world. Basically, everything in the physical world on the right is ultimately caused in the spiritual world on the left. What starts out being the will and the imagination of divine beings gets translated through different dimensions into the physical dimension we call space-time. If this reminds you of Plato's allegory of the cave, you're right. There are parallels. Both philosophies distinguish between the sensory world, perceived by ordinary means, and a higher, truer reality that is not perceptible to the senses. In both cases, enlightenment or true understanding comes from transcending the ordinary, sensory-based view of reality. Both allegories emphasize the journey from ignorance to knowledge, suggesting that true understanding is achievable and desirable, and that it involves a reorientation of one's understanding of reality and one's place within it. Central to Heindel's teachings is the complex nature of human beings, which he divides into 7 distinct parts: the dense body, the vital body, the desire body, the mind, the ego, and 2 higher aspects that evolve over time. This multidimensional view serves as foundation for understanding the process of death, rebirth, and the evolution of consciousness. In Heindel's other book, Cosmoconception, there is another illustration I want to show you. It depicts the average human life cycle from the invisible to the visible world and back. The path to spiritual enlightenment involves a series of initiations. Let's quickly look at the definition of the term initiation. The initiations that Heindel is referring to are not merely ceremonial, but involve inner transformation as well. The Rosicrucian path involves selfless service, moral purity, and the development of spiritual faculties. This process includes practical exercises for meditation, concentration, and the development of the will aimed at achieving direct knowledge of the spiritual worlds. The ultimate goal of Rosicrucian initiations is not just to perform rituals, but to achieve a true inner transformation and illumination of consciousness. This transformation is seen as a personal journey that each student undertakes through their own efforts, merits, and preparation. I'm going to link a YouTube video in the description box about the Rosicrucian initiation that I personally found really helpful. Max Heindel's book, The Rosicrucian Mysteries, gives you an overview to the spiritual wisdom of the Rosicrucian tradition. The book names two main paths for spiritual development: the path of knowledge, followed by the occultists, who seek understanding from a standpoint of intellect and reason, and the path of devotion, followed by the mystics, who seek a more heartfelt, loving connection with the divine, exemplified by Christ. Both paths have their pitfalls, but Heindel advocates for a balance between the two, combining knowledge with love to ensure that spiritual gifts are used for the greater good. The bottom line is that inner transformation and the pursuit of wisdom should be regarded not just as an intellectual exercise, but as a living, breathing practice that shapes and transforms you as you go along. On that note, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was of interest to you, and I will see you in the next one.